So yeah, Riot just put a patch on the test server that's either saving League or fucking it beyond repair. And by fuck it, I mean turrets are one-shotting entire champions. Let's talk about it. Last week, Riot made some changes on the test server that encompass yet another effort to purge the rift of so-called lane swapping. Now, if you don't know what lane swapping is, well, it's a problem. Or not. Depends who you ask. Some feel that it adds strategy and creativity to the laning phase. Others, not so much.
Lane swap is not a strategy. Lane swap is a steaming pile of dog shit. Have you ever watched a game of baseball where everyone only bunts? Have you ever watched a game of football where all they do is lateral passes? Do you ever watch a game of soccer where two guys just kick it back and forth the whole time? That's lane swapping. It's not the game. It's just some stupid bullshit bastardization of what the game is supposed to be. Red-blooded American League of Legends is 2v2 in the bot lane and 1v1 in the top lane.
But yeah, in terms of what it is, sometimes a bot lane matchup is so unfavorable that teams will opt to swap their top and bot lanes in order to dodge it. Sometimes both teams will swap and you end up with a fucking party in the top lane. So why is it that the haters hate it? Well, mostly because it's kind of boring, right? When people tune into a pro League of Legends game, they want to watch the players in their respective positions face off against each other. What they don't want to see is top laners getting battered under tower and world-class ADC and support duos facing off in a heated battle against turret plating. Whatever your thoughts on it might be, Riot notoriously hate it and have literally spent like a decade trying to get rid of it. In fact, lane swapping was all but obsolete for years and then made a comeback once the bot lane matchups became not only central to a team's comp, but limiting in terms of counterplay. At some point, it actually started to become clear that teams didn't really have a reason not to do it. So Riot gave them one. And let me tell you, it is extreme, even by Riot standards. Behold the lane swap detector. It replaces turret fortification and activates if and only if two non-jungler enemies appear in the top or mid lane in the first few minutes of the laning phase. Now, that's the gist of it. But what does it do? Well, it does a couple things, most of which are batshit insane. Now, Riot are making changes to these every day. I've already had to re-VO this, but as of the time of this recording, the defending turret gets a huge damage reduction, one-shots minions, one-shots champions, enemies only get 50% gold/experience, the defender gets gold/experience automatically redirected to them, as well as a 50% damage reduction if they're a top laner. Yeah, that'll do it. If that doesn't stop lane swapping, absolutely nothing will. But the craziest thing about this detector is the range. As Vanderil illustrates, if your support is anywhere near the top lane within the first few minutes, your lane is f***ing griefed. Which means that top lane specifically is on more of an island now than arguably ever before. This is a ham-fisted approach that shows that Riot are not screwing around. For better or for worse, they really rolled their sleeves up on this one. But because this is League and Riot we're talking about, the first thing the community did was gravitate towards the worse. People immediately observed that you could abuse this mechanic to grief your teammates. Top laner said something colorful about your grandmother in the draft. Just head on top, plant yourself in a brush, see how he likes them apples. Now, Froxon has already clarified that Riot can and will detect this type of behavior and ban you for it. But this is League, brother. That's never stopped any of us from running it down. Anyway, Froxon also clarified that they had actually considered implementing a referee to enforce a no lane swapping rule in professional play, which even he admits would have been hilarious. Anyway, there is a chance that these changes undergo revision, substantial or otherwise, but in any case, Riot cooked, my guys. Look, I'll be honest, I've never really had anything against lane swapping. I come from Dota, so to me that's just the game. But Riot don't like it when people color outside the lines. We know this. They've always been like this. Will these changes be too much? Will players find ways around them? Honestly, hard to know right now. Have to wait to see if and when they come into the game and how players react. But I will just say that, like, lane swapping did sort of make a comeback because of Riot and how League has evolved. A lot of these bot lane matchups have just become crazily unplayable. And when you're a pro player and your job is to win, You want to avoid those, even if they are fun for us, the audience, to watch. Let's just say that pro players weren't lane swapping because it's fun. They were doing it as a survival tactic. It is a well-established sentiment that ADC in particular has just become a hellscape to play, and swaps are an effort to mitigate that. Look, Riot, I don't hate the changes. I'm just saying that, like, this is literally an example of don't hate the player, hate the game. The game just happens to be yours. Thou shalt not grieve. Grief unto others as thine. As thine.
Grieve unto others.
Grief unto others as thou. Grief unto you. The golden rule of League. That is the golden rule of League, Danny.